Hello, sports fans, and welcome to the Scout Sports 101 Thursday Night Football Week 5 pregame show. Well, actually, it's a pregame update show, we'll call it. We're going to talk about tonight's game that's between the Bears and Commanders right now, and it's 17-0 Bears in the second quarter. And we'll talk about that and talk about what I expect, we all expect with this game tonight. But first, here is today's Scout Sports 101 Thursday Night Football Week 5 trivia question. It's a Bears trivia. It's a Commanders trivia question. Excuse me. In 1987, Joe Gibbs won his 70th game as head coach of the Washington Redskins to become the winningest coach in franchise history. Against what team? I will have the answer later on the podcast. Well, it's Thursday Night Football, Week 5. We have a great NFC matchup tonight. For you tonight, excuse me. The Chicago Bears and the Washington Commanders are battling it out right now at FedEx Field in Washington, D.C. The Bears are coming off a 38-21 loss at the hands of the Denver Broncos last week. The winless Bears, who are 0-4, will look to get their first win of the season against the Commanders tonight. The Bears know the Commanders have a formidable front four: defensive tackle Darren Payne and Jonathan Allen, and defensive ends Montez Montez Sweet, excuse me, and Chase Young. The quartet has combined for 8.5 sacks and 19 quarterback hits. That makes a big challenge for the Bears' offensive line and quarterback Justin Fields, who has been sacked 17 times this season. Guys are just going to have to be great on double teams, sustain blocks for a long time, and really just protect Fields. And we know everything kind of starts with the offensive line. They know they're going up against a talented group, but they're excited because it's an opportunity for them to go out and ball out. Right guard Nate Davis says they are ready uh, for the game against the Commanders tonight. Davis says we are going to go out there and play hard against Washington and look to get our first win of the season. Meanwhile, the Washington Commanders are coming off a 34-31 loss in overtime in the hands of the Philadelphia Eagles last week. The Commanders are really going to be out to win this game against the Bears tonight and look to go to 3-2 on the season. Washington defensive front line is really Washington's defensive front line, excuse me, is really going to have to step it up and keep Chicago's offensive line and their quarterback Justin Fields from getting in the end zone and scoring. And they know Chicago is looking to get their first win of the season. Uh, Now, Ron Rivera understands what the Chicago Bears are going through. In the first 3 seasons as coach in Washington, the former Bears linebacker and assistant Dalt with one off the field distraction after another from the NFL and Congress investigating owner Dan Schneider's dealings with drug enforcement administration raiding the facility and home of trainer Ron Vermillion. Earlier this season, Riviera relished a line of questions about the long snapper situation because it was the Commanders' biggest problem. It's good to just be worried about football. Things have changed and it's been different, he said. It's been refreshing. Not so much with the Bears, who are mirrored in chops off the field and winless on it. They visit Washington, and they're in Washington tonight with a player in exile for undisclosed reasons. Their defensive coordinator gone for what he said was health and family reasons. A little reason to believe they're primed for their first victory in nearly a year. Uh, when you lose, we've lost a couple of games here this year. For me, everybody has frustrations," said Matt Eberfilus, who has lost more than a couple of games, 18 of 21 games actually since taking over as Chicago's coach. But you got to be able to control your emotions and focus on the task at hand. And the task at hand is a primetime matchup against the Commanders, who are 2-2 and looking to go to 3-2 on the season. After back-to-back losses, but feeling better about themselves after pushing defending NFC East champion Philadelphia to overtime. Moral victories amount to a hill of beans in the NFL, but players seeing the upcoming schedule, starting with the Bears, and know this is the time to stack wins. We've got a lot of games in front of us that are for sure winnable. Second-year receiver Jahan Dotson said we should do pretty well during this little stretch. Upcoming for Washington are games at Atlanta and the New York Giants, who have been outscored 94-15 in their three losses. But first, the 0-4 Bears, who are coming off blowing a 21-point lead to Denver last week, want to get their first W of the season. And that's just the start of the problems at Halas Hall, where receiver Chase Claypool is no longer welcome to work at. Eberflus declined to say that he and general manager Ryan Poles asked Claypool to stay away from the team. We feel right now this is the best decision for us, Eberflus said. The drama surrounding Claypool comes after defensive coordinator Alan Williams abruptly resigned earlier this season, and franchise quarterback Justin Fields suggested he was being overcoached. Comments he tried to walk back later the same day. Fields on the field has rebounded. He's coming off throwing for a career best 335 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Broncos, which is one of the glimmer of hope for the Bears, who last won a game, on October 24th, 2022. You want to win, Fields said. I'd rather throw for 50 yards with 3 picks and we still win than the game what happened in the past. This past Sunday, At this point, winning is just the number one thing on my mind. Same for the Commanders, who, because of their favorable last place schedule, could be in the mix for a wild card spot if they get back on track despite FanDuel's sportsbook setting. Washington, as a 5.5-point favorite, receiver Terry McLaurin insisted he and his teammates aren't taking Chicago lightly. Left tackle Charles Leno, who played his first 7 pro seasons with the Bears before being surprisingly released, also knows better than to underestimate his former team. Chicago. I don't care what's going on out there, but I guarantee you their players and their coaches are telling their team they can come in here on Thursday night to Washington and try to kick our butts in our house, Leno said. That's what I'm worried about. That's what I care about. And more of that, and please, the Bears expected big things from DJ Moore when they acquired him from Carolina for the number one pick in the draft, he finally delivered last week. Moore caught 8 passes for 131 yards and a touchdown. He had 11 receptions for 170 yards and combined it in the first 3 games. It helped the Bears. The Bears were moving Fields in and out of the pocket. He looked more comfortable throwing the ball. I don't think we took a step closer in finding our identity as an offense. So that's always a positive, Fields said. Even in a losing effort, Commanders starting quarterback Sam Howell bounced back in a big way against the Eagles after throwing 4 interceptions and getting sacked 9 times in a blowout loss to Buffalo. Howell had 330 yards combined in the air and on the ground and avoided a turnover at Philadelphia. Howell goes into just his 6th pro start, looking to build off that performance. The more games that we play collectively as an offensive unit, the better we'll be. Howell said, the more we get comfortable with first-year offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy, first year and calling the game, and just everybody, the whole process, players, coaches, everybody included. The more we can do that together, the better we'll be. The Bears doubled their sack total last week. Though that's hardly a point of pride for them. Chicago remains at the bottom of the NFL with 2 on the season after taking down Russell Wilson once last week. And the New York Giants, who are 31st, have twice as many. Then again, the Bears have some opportunities this week. No one has allowed more sacks this season than the Commanders, 24 to be exact. We have to remind ourselves about getting off the ball, being able to play fast and physical, and those opportunities will present themselves, said defensive end Yannick Ngakoue, who has 1 sack in the opener against Green Bay. Rookie quarterback Emmanuel Forbes had a rough day against the Eagles trying to cover A.J. Brown with Jalen Hurts, throwing the ball in his direction and often. Brown finished with a game-high 9 catches for 175 yards and 2 TDs, targeted 9 times and allowing 18 catches for a league-worst 356 yards. The first-round pick out of Mississippi State had a reassuring conversation with Riviera after the game and hasn't gotten down on himself. I'm still the same person, confident in my game, knowing what I can and can't do. Forbes said, I just got to dial the smaller details. I just got to make the best of my opportunities when they do target me. So both teams have their work cut out tonight. So, and I think this is going to be one of those games, right? And right now it is 27 to 3. Bears with 24 seconds to go till halftime, and they have scored. They scored 3 touchdowns, I believe, to get that. Actually, 2 touchdowns, kicked a field goal. Actually, it was a field goal. That was a touchdown, and right now the Bears have just been dominating this first half, and Washington's gonna have to come up with some magic in that second half if they want to get the win. And I'll get back to this in a minute. Let me give you the answer to today's Scott Sports 101 Thursday Night Football Week 5 trivia question. It's a Commanders trivia question. In 1987, Joe Gibbs won his 70th game and had as head coach of the Washington Redskins. And this was before they became the Commanders, to become the winningest coach in franchise history against what team? If you said the Chicago Bears, you are correct. The Redskins beat the Chicago Bears 14-2 in the divisional playoffs to advance to the NFC Championship game. And I'll have another trivia question on my next podcast, so stay tuned for that. And my pick, I am taking the Washington Commanders. So far, it doesn't look like I'm going to win that game, and I think my brother-in-law will too. So we'll see. But Washington will have to come out and really play hard that second half, and they're going to need to score at least 4 touchdowns. No, I don't want to do that. To try to get the win. Yeah, they're going to need to score at least 4 touchdowns to get the win, and so they got their work cut out because it's almost halftime for the first half. So we'll see what happens. That's just about going to do it and wrap it up for the Scout Sports 101 Thursday Night Football pregame / update show. I'll be back with the postgame show once the game between the Bears and the Commanders has concluded. But until then, always remember, be a team player each and every day in every way possible. So long, everybody. 3, 2, 1, I'm done.